it's such a stupid shutdown. And Democrats have stuck with it. We've had three examples of Islamist terrorism. We took aim at ICE and we hit TSA. And maybe that wasn't a smart thing to do.
Welcome to Political Perspectives with the Washington Examiner. I'm Jim Antle, in for Hugo Gurdon. If you're watching us on social media, please remember to click like and subscribe. I'm joined today by our chief political correspondent, Byron York. And Byron, we've had this government shutdown going on for a bit, and maybe we seem to be headed toward a resolution now, but sort of the main headlines that were justifying Democrats picking this fight over DHS funding have kind of been pushed aside, have they not? And it's sort of the whole, what the MO here is become quite a bit less clear.
Yeah, the whole rationale for the quote shutdown didn't make any sense to begin with. And now, in addition to that, it's irrelevant because of the war going on. But the shutdown is still going on, which the reason is Democrats wanted to do some dramatic measure to protest ICE tactics after Minneapolis, in which ICE agents shot and killed two protesters in confrontations there. So the problem is the funding for ICE was included, long-term funding for ICE was included in last year's big, beautiful bill.
Right.
So Democrats cannot defund ICE right now. So they think, well, what can we do? We'll withhold funding for the Department of Homeland Security, the larger department of which ICE is a part, and which includes things like the TSA and the Coast Guard and FEMA and a few other things like that. So on February 14th, they block funding for those agencies. And what happens is kind of nothing. The people affected keep coming to work, and in hopes that there'll be a quick solution because it's such a stupid shutdown. And Democrats have stuck with it. And what has happened is the focus is now on TSA, whose workers make about $50,000 a year. They probably don't have a huge well of savings to draw from right now.
Right.
And they've missed one full paycheck and one partial paycheck, and they're starting to drop out. And, you know, these are the people who search everyone at the airports. And if that is dramatically slowed down, then everybody stays in TSA lines for 2 or 3 hours and then misses their flight. Or maybe the airport shuts down altogether. So people are starting to notice this. And I think Democrats will compromise, will cave at some point in the future. But remember, they went 43 days in a shutdown they were going to lose in last fall. And now I think today is day 32 or 33. So they're getting in that range now.
So the Iran war has both helped push the main reasons for the DHS funding showdown out of the headlines, you know, in addition to the resolution of the whole situation in Minneapolis. It's pushed it out of the headlines. It's also theoretically heightened the risk of some kind of terrorist incident at a time where you're not paying your TSA agents, or where the DHS funding is stalled. So that kind of seems to be a problem, no?
Yes. I mean, we've had three examples of Islamist terrorism in the past couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who was wearing the Property of Allah T-shirt, who takes a rifle to the nightlife district in Austin, Texas, kills 3 people, critically wounds several others. He's apparently angry about the U.S. invasion or attack on Iran, which had occurred right at about that time. Then you had the 2 events later in March, the shooting at Old Dominion University, and then the attack on, fortunately, unsuccessful attack on the synagogue and school in Michigan. And both of these were one of them, the guy in Virginia at Old Dominion University, had a naturalized U.S. citizen, had actually served time in jail for providing material support to ISIS.
Hmm.
And of course, he's let out and allowed to remain in the country. And then the guy in Michigan, his brother reportedly was a Hezbollah commander killed in an Israeli airstrike in the last couple of weeks, and then in Lebanon, and then his other members of his family were reportedly killed as well in Israeli airstrikes. And so, what does he do? He packs up his car as a bomb and plows into a synagogue. These are pretty clear examples of terrorist acts related to the world's headlines, and they're the kind of thing that, if in a normal world, if you were running TSA, you might say, we need to increase our security, or we need to check more stringently for this or for that. And instead, Democrats have denied pay for all TSA employees who are overstressed and discouraged, probably working another job to try to make some money,
Right.
and basically stressed the system when they actually should be building up the system.
And of course, Kristi Noem is out at DHS, and confirmation hearings have started for Senator Markwayne Mullin. So there are other opportunities, maybe not with the same leverage points, but other opportunities for Democrats to make the points they want to make about ICE and DHS apart from a government shutdown.
That's absolutely true. And you would say that the departure of Kristi Noem was one answer to some of those Democratic complaints about ICE. They have three, I think, big things. They want ICE agents to not to wear masks. They want them to carry body cams, and they want them to be required to get judicial warrants to do a lot of what they do.
Right.
There's a lot of opposition on the mask front because of doxing and possible danger for the agents. Not much opposition on body cams, which are just a common part of policing in the United States. Of course, not
Mhm.
wearing a mask is a common part of policing in the United States as well. So it seems to me they could actually give in or compromise on those two issues. The judicial warrant requirement is designed to basically slow ICE's activities to a standstill, which is exactly what Democrats would like to do. So there's not going to be a compromise on that. Now, I think what's going to happen is the Democrats are going to finally realize, we took aim at ICE and we hit TSA, and maybe that wasn't a smart thing to do. So why don't we just stop this?
So the Iran war is ongoing. The Trump administration at various levels, including the president himself, have laid out their rationale for why the United States needed to strike Iran now. The polling, however, hasn't really shown that the public is buying this, or at least they still require more explanation as to why we're doing this war.
Yeah, first of all, the polling is not terrible. In a couple of polls, support for President Trump's policy actually ticked up a point or two
Mm-hmm.
as this has gone on, but still you have pluralities usually opposing this. But where you get a big majority is if you ask people, has President Trump clearly explained the reasons for going to war? And they say no. And you think to yourself, well, they've actually explained a lot. We've had the explanations that the some of the goals of going to war were to eliminate um, Iran's ballistic missile capability, both its missiles and its launchers, were to destroy its navy, were to destroy its nuclear weapons program, and to destroy its ability to fund proxies and wreak havoc beyond its borders. So, okay, those are the goals. Why do people say they haven't heard them explained? Well, maybe they haven't. Maybe they haven't been explained enough. But it could be that they've listened to those and just do not find them absolutely sufficient. for this war. In any case, a significant number of Americans feel that they really have not had this war sufficiently explained to them.
So finally, is there something the administration could really be doing that would maybe move the needle on some of these numbers, or does this just sort of reflect the kind of polarization around these issues that's kind of baked into the cake at this point?
Well, you mentioned polarization around these issues, and there certainly is, but there's also just polarization around Donald Trump. The fact that
Right.
he's doing it means that a significant number of people are going to be opposed to it. You know, the internet joke is Trump announces cure for cancer, Democrats pronounce support for cancer. I mean,
Right.
it's like no matter what he does, they're going to oppose it. On the other hand, there are real reasons to oppose this war, to think that it wasn't necessary. If the goal is to disarm Iran in some way to make it impossible for them to have a nuclear weapon, obviously a lot was done on that score, you know, without this full scale attack. So I think you're going to have a significant number of people, and also the last thing is a lot of Americans remember the war in Iraq, which was pretty much a disaster. They see an engagement like this as kind of an invitation to a quagmire, and they worry about that. So
Right.
obviously, the sooner the president can wrap this thing up, the better it would be for those people.
Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Byron.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining Political Perspectives with the Washington Examiner. Please remember to click like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.